Volkswagen is changing. It has had to. From scandals to an underwhelming response to its EVs, plus the need to restructure the business, what is Britain's favourite car brand has had some tough times recently. But the man whose job it is to change that is Thomas Schäfer. And we've been given an exclusive opportunity to take him for a drive and ask him absolutely anything. Thomas, thank you very much for letting me be your chauffeur this morning. Very grateful. Tell me about this car. Firstly, is it Tayron or Tayron?
We call it Tayron. It is the successor of the Tiguan All-Space. We used to have the Tiguan and Tiguan All-Space with the 7 seats. This car is not an extended Tiguan. It's a proper developed new vehicle on its own platform. So it has comes with 5 or 7 seats, a front wheel or rear wheel drive. It sits between the Tiguan and the Touareg, and it has plenty drivetrains, from efficient petrol and diesel engines to mild hybrid to plug-in hybrid, 100 and 130 kilometer range, so very efficient.
And this is the plug-in hybrid.
It's a plug-in
version
hybrid with a 130 kilometer range. Yeah.
How important is a plug-in hybrid to you and your customers at the moment?
Very important, actually, and it's gaining momentum. It is a brilliant transitional technology that, on the way to electrify. Certain countries are going slower, some faster in electrification. The sort of final point is clear. The question is how quickly do we get there? And such technologies now, this one with like 130 kilometer range, fast charging, you can do it with the fast charger. So it's a brilliant technology that you can use for every day. But you can also use it for long distances.
And most people don't do anywhere near that sort of mileage anyway, each day.
It's exactly true. No, I mean, we drove from the airport to here yesterday, full electric. You don't even realize you've driven electric. So it's a brilliant technology for the transition. In the next 10 years, we will at least see this transition happening.
We've had a lot of conversations over the years about electrification and the importance of this sort of technology. But talking about electrification as a whole, with hindsight, do you think you went too fast too soon?
No, I don't think so. Look, you have countries in Europe that are moving a lot faster than the others, and some areas that are lagging behind, and some are somewhere in the middle. So you have to stay on par, with the technology. You have to do these important leaps in development to stay in the game. You cannot just sort of wait back and see what's happening. So we needed to invest in electric mobility. We did that. We learned a lot, obviously, and also in software-defined vehicle, and battery technology in itself. It was necessary, and now, we have brilliant ICE vehicles, combustion engine vehicles that we have in the market that will last us in this transition. But you also have the next generation of electric cars on the horizon with the SSP.
And have you started putting more emphasis, development-wise as well, on internal combustion engine and plug-in hybrid vehicles because of the way the market is?
Every year we got our planning round, we call it, where we look at the portfolio the next 5 or 10 years, and then we do adjustments as the markets develop. These global developments that you see, China, America, or geopolitically, what's Europe's position within Europe, policy, and so on. So we're trying to adjust this as best as we can from a sort of financial perspective, but also from policy, so that it all fits together. It's challenging, but I think we have made a good plan. We put some more into electrification, hybrids, and but quite confident that what we have now as a portfolio serves everybody.
And why should people go electric?
It's convenient. I mean, most people don't drive more than 100 kilometers per day. If you have your charger at home, you've got your solar system at home. Most people have that nowadays. Even works in Ireland. So then plug it in at home. You never go charging again. The technology is brilliant. The convenience of driving. It's fun to drive. I'm not going to go back.
That's the feeling of a lot of people when they buy plug-in hybrids. They think, why don't I just buy electric? Don't they?
The problem part with the plug-in hybrid is that you have 2 technologies in one vehicle, which makes it usually expensive. But again, for the transition, it's definitely the right technology to go.
Governments are pushing people towards electrification. They're certainly pushing you guys towards electrification.
Yeah.
What do they need to do more? Is it just about incentives? Is it about messaging? What do you want to see from government to make people accept electric and buy electric?
Yeah, it's probably like a multitude of measures that we need to get into electrification, from policy to like also the positive image of it going forward. It's not always about you must do this and must do that. It's supported. The center point is the cost of electricity. It is the real reason why China is going so fast in electrification is electricity is cheap. So people prefer to drive electric over a combustion engine. It's much more efficient than going and then fill your car with petrol. So in most European and also UK countries, electricity is still too expensive. We need it cheaper to accelerate the movement here. Then comes support in like stuff like purchase benefits, bonuses, incentives of that sort. But first and foremost, it's cost of electricity.
In the UK, we have the zero emissions vehicles (ZEV) mandate, and there are similar legislative conditions across Europe. Do those conditions need to be relaxed slightly? Are the governments pushing too hard, do you think?
I think we rather need the right framework to really get the acceleration of electrification going. And at the moment, the take-up rate is not high enough to match the targets and the adoption rate. So we need to accelerate this rather than penalize going forward.
There's a number of challenges that you face. I'm going to talk about product and the stuff you're building in a minute, but let's talk about the challenges, because you've got a really tough time at the moment. Let's talk about the home market, particularly in Germany. You're sorted in terms of what's happening with the plants now. You're not shutting any plants, you're repurposing plants. Is that right?
Correct.
Other challenges that you face in particular, we have Mr. Trump with tariffs. How much of a headache is that for you and your business?
Automotive industry is a global industry. So any kind of tariffs, closing supply chains and so on is always not great for business. For us, we are not a major importer as Volkswagen brand into the US. We are highly localized in our factory in Chattanooga. We have major factories in Mexico, battery factory in Canada. We are in North America, and I still think that most of the discussions that are happening at the moment will hopefully end in an amicable solution, and it always has. We have worked with the previous administration, we'll work with this administration. So for us, we are working with what we see, and at the moment.
And you've said the same in tariffs in terms of China. You want free trade.
I want free trade. No, this tariffs into Europe helps nobody. It gives you a false sense of safety and security. We need to be competitive, and that's what we worked on last year specifically. The brand needs to be competitive, and tariffs will only make everything more expensive. It's not going to help. And
how much of a concern is the slowdown in China at the moment? I mean, it's still growing, but the rate of growth of sales is much slower.
Yeah, but it's still the biggest car market in the world. We're doing comparatively well. We are renewing with our In China for China strategy with Volkswagen. We are now with partnerships, with new models lined up and so on. So I think we are putting the future plan well together. In the combustion engine space, we are gaining market share quite nicely. China needs to be watched, but at the moment, I think the plan that we put in motion is the right one, and we put it in time together.
One of the things that we've spoken about in the past, and I really like, is your honesty around the product and the fact that some of the product, I'll use my words rather than yours, just hasn't been good enough in a number of different ways. When are we going to see the first Schäfer Volkswagen that, this car is much improved, and I see areas that you've mentioned in the past, buttons on the steering wheel, hooray, things like that. But, when do we see the first real Schäfer and Schäfer's team Volkswagen?
Most stuff we already see now on the roads. We have reworked features, we have reworked button on the steering wheels, stuff like that, to get the car, the user experience of the vehicles right. We worked on quality, on software stability, so that's all there. The first car that we done that will be the series version of the ID2.
When will we see ID2?
So we'll do a cover drive to the media at the end of the year, and then we'll present the vehicle to the world public beginning of next year.
And you've also committed to, shall we call it ID1, a €20,000 car?
Yeah, so there was now a very long debate, whether we should go into that territory. It's obviously, a challenge to get that car in quality, in performance, into that price bracket. And we've been fighting for this. Now we decided we're going to go for it, and we'll show the first glimpse next week to the public. It's a show car, but it shows the direction, and it'll come in 27.
Another thing we've spoken about quite often is your naming strategy. How are you getting on with that? I mean, what happens to those iconic names? Polo, 50 years.
So Polo 50 years is a great story. This year, Polo is now, the main factory is now in South Africa, an iconic car for the world. So we'll probably do something in South Africa with around the Polo anniversary. The naming, just got to be a little bit more patient. That it's coming just now. We're reviewing how we can bring our naming into the future, but a little bit more patience, if I may ask.
What does Volkswagen really stand for in terms of summing up what the brand means in a market that is ever more competitive with ever more challenges? In a few words, what does the Volkswagen brand mean to people, to buyers?
Volkswagen is probably one of the only global iconic brands that everybody has a story with. People grew up with Volkswagen in one way or the other. Everybody can tell a story with Volkswagen. We're part of people's lives. So it's achievable, but in the same sense, it's value, it's stability, quality, safety. So we've always been not the funkiest in necessary sense, or not the cheapest, but we've always been in the middle of a society, but also from a positioning with great quality that lasts you a long while and carries you through your life. That's has to be brought into the future now in any kind of, no matter what the propulsion system is, whether it's electric or a combustion engine.
Everyone's got a Volkswagen story.
Yeah, it's amazing. As you know, I've lived around the world in so many places, and I can surely say that the love that people have for this brand is unique.
Yeah,
it's really unique.
It's very different.
The main part we've been working on is to position the brand correctly. And he said Volkswagen needs to be the technologically leading volume brand. We always have to lead in functions, features, but also in stability and quality. So we've made a clear plan from now until 2030. Now it's the phase where we sort of get our basics right, the foundation. It's advanced phase. Where we advance along the line. We get the portfolio, the lineup plan, and the attack phase. 9 new EVs coming in the next until 27, and then make sure that this gets executed until 2030 and really lead it on.
And by then we've got software-defined vehicles. What is your view of a software-defined vehicle? Is it simply a car built around a computer rather than a computer being put into a car? Is that?
Yeah, look, in the main point of it is, in the past you used to have, you were thinking of a nice body shape, and then you use one of the engines that you had in your portfolio and put it in there. In the future, the electronic architecture, the software is a leading point, and you have sort of upgrades from one version to the next version, and that really defines what kind of car you put on it. So it's not, you think of a body shape and then you put an engine in. It's the other way around. You must make sure that you have a functioning electronic architecture that you then put a couple of vehicles on top. So that's the only magic in it. I know it was a big debate about it, but software is becoming a leading factor in anything we do.
And a differentiator?
And very much a differentiator. Because if you think it from the customer, and what does a customer need, which we will show now with the ID1, ID everyone that we show the show car, it is thought from a customer point of view. We spend a lot of time on thinking, how does a customer look like a pizza service, a nursing service? How do you, like a young person, see a car like this, and an old person? And then you think it through, what kind of features do you need? What kind of support systems do you need? And it's quite enlightening when you go through it from a customer's perspective. We spend a lot of time on that, and I think in future that'll become more and more differentiating factor.
I have 2 very quick questions for you now, Thomas. Clearly we are in a car. There's a good audio system in this car, Harman Kardon.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to sing. You can if you want. But if you were listening to some music in here, what would be your choice of music to set you up for the day?
You set me up for the day. I'd probably listen to Queen.
Queen.
Yeah, I love Queen.
Which track?
Oh, like, Under Pressure, for example.
Okay, that's quite apt, perhaps. And my second question now, I will mark this car out of 10. I've been very privileged to be your chauffeur, but you've got to mark me out of 10 as well. So how's my driving on these particularly narrow southern France roads?
Considering that you are driving what you say on the wrong side, I say we're on the right side. But anyway, you're driving actually quite well. I must say.
Marks out of 10. Marks out of 10.
I'll give you, I'd say, a solid 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Solid 8. I'll take.
Okay.
Thomas. Thomas, thank you very much.
Big pleasure.
I really
Thanks,
appreciate
Steve.
your time. Good to see you as always.
Cool.
Thank you.